Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our STG at Home, the State of Live Music event. My name is Angela Neubauer. I'm the Donor Relations Manager at Seattle Theater Group. I use the she, her pronouns. I have long, dark, curly hair, olive skin. I am wearing a blue floral top, and I'm sitting in front of a window. We've put an emphasis on access for our STG engagements. Notice we have closed captioning at the bottom of the screen, and each presenter will give a physical description of themselves, as I just did, to improve this experience for participants who are blind or have low vision. Our plan is to keep this conversation at 60 minutes. Thank you to those who have submitted a question in advance. We'll save some time at the end to answer live patron questions. To submit a question, please use the Q&A box rather than the comment box. STG at Home is a series of discussions about the arts hosted for our most loyal patrons like you. This has been a fun way to stay engaged while our theaters are dark and to keep us all inspired by the arts. Our conversation is taking place during the happy hour, so cheers to everyone. Now, please join me in welcoming STG's Chief Programming Officer, founder of Sasquatch and Thing, and our facilitator for today, Adam Zacks.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Adam Zacks. I'm the Chief Programming Officer for Seattle Theater Group. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a white male with longish brown hair and glasses. I'm wearing a red hooded sweatshirt, and I'm sitting in my home office with some black and white concert photographs behind me. We have a really esteemed group with us today, so let's get on with the introductions, starting with Ricardo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ricardo Fraser. My preferred pronoun is he, him. I am Afro-Latino with brown skin, short to almost no hair, a black mustache, and a goatee. I am one of the founders and executive director of Zaki Rose. ZR, as we say, is a full-service creative agency, production company, and entertainment company. I am sitting in Seattle. It's beautiful. It's sunny. I'm sitting in my home office in front of a white wall with an enlarged stamp of one of my favorite soul singers in the background, Marvin Gaye. and a blue 2005 bumper shoot poster that was commissioned by Bumbershoot. John Max Eminger, a local artist, did that. I am wearing a black Nike top, and it is my pleasure to be here with you all.
Thanks so much, Ricardo. Allie, to you.
Hi, my name's Allie Hedrick. I have long brown hair. I like to use the pronouns she and her. I am wearing a navy dress. I am in a white and orange room, and I am one of the founding partners and an agent at a new agency called Arrival Artists, and also very happy to be here.
Thanks, Allie. Jason, to you. Oh, you are muted.
Hey, my name is Jason Colton. I am an artist manager at Red Light Management, based here in Seattle. My preferred pronouns are he and him, and I am a white male with brown hair wearing a blue shirt, orange glasses, and I'm actually in Palm Desert, California right now on spring break with my family in a study, a wooden study.
Great, thanks so much, everybody. So we're gonna run through some questions here for 25, 30 minutes, and then we've got questions being submitted for Q&A at the end. So we'll be sure and save time for that. But the first question, and it's to all of you, I'll go around the horn here to get your answers, but what was your first concert? Who was it? Where was it? And what did it spark in you? Ricardo, let's start with you.
All right, I'm going to date myself here, but that's okay. My first concert was the Jackson 5. My stepdad took my brother and I think at 10 or 11 or so, to Radio City Music Hall in New York City to see the Jackson 5. And it was the most electrifying, amazing, probably still one of the most incredible concerts I've ever seen. And that show, Michael Jackson doing his thing at that age, right, really just inspired me. It's like, look, I want to be that guy. Luckily, I realized I couldn't be him, but I could work in the music business. And so that concert really inspired me as a kid to just want to be around music, want to be around that energy and that feeling that you get when you see a live event, and what you feel from the audience.
That's a pretty incredible one. I wish mine stood up to that. It does not. But Allie, let's hear from you.
Yeah, that's a tough act to follow. I don't even know where to go. I saw a Journey with Bryan Adams opening at the Rosemont Horizon, which was outside of Chicago. I was 11 years old. I was sitting in the nosebleed seats in this arena. I had no idea they were terrible seats. I was just thrilled to be there. And I remember we got to play the Escape video game. Journey had a video game as well. We all got tokens. And so, and I loved it. I loved the band Journey. And yeah, that was my first concert.
Did it spark anything in you?
Oh, yeah, I mean, live music has always sparked something in me. But yeah, my first memories of music, for sure. Yes, it did. I kind of always, I wanted to know that I wanted to work in music from a very young age.
Great. Jason, to you.
I saw the Police at the Providence Civic Center, Providence, Rhode Island, February 22nd, 1983. I'm pretty sure I was in 5th grade or 6th grade. It would have been the Synchronicity Tour. And the opening act was the Reflex. Can anybody name the Reflex's biggest hit? The Politics of Dancing. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. And my dad took me. He bought tickets from a scalper. He had to show up at a hotel lobby somewhere, but my dad was a fan too, so he was also stoked to go. And I remember every detail. I remember, yeah, I was also in the nosebleeds, and I just remember the smells, which were very pungent at that time. That was also a first. And it's so vivid in my head, like the entire set, and it definitely sparked, I was already a huge music fan at the time, but it definitely sparked a love of live music, even at a young age.
Excellent. Well, I guess I can't get away from skirting this question myself, but my first concert was an a cappella group from Vancouver, BC called the Nylons. And while they're not quite as legendary as your all first concerts, I do have a very clear memory of being fascinated with all the aspects of a concert, like staring at the lights and wondering what are those, how do those work, who puts them up. Everything about it totally fascinated me, and so it really did spark what's been a lifelong passion and career for me. So my next question to each of you is, what was the moment you felt compelled to pursue a career in music, and where did you get your start? Ricardo, let's start with you again.
I don't know if there was a moment in particular, like you and Ali and Jason. I've just always loved music. It's just a part of my life. I was actually born in Costa Rica, and my dad was a musician there. And I remember my earliest experiences were being on stage with him as a 4, 5, 6-year-old while he played music. So music's always been a part of my life. I think as I matured, I just decided that, that's just what I wanted to do. I had some opportunities to go into tech, duh, right? I might be richer for all I know, right? But my heart just wasn't in tech. I worked, for AT&T, as we do coming up, we take all these jobs, and I kept going back to like radio and music, and got lucky and met a woman, Joy Hardiman, who was a director, and she lived in the Paramount Theater building. And then I got in that building. I met Norm and Ulysses and David Allen and a bunch of folks who worked in the business. And that really is what propelled me to be in music to this day.
Yeah, that's great. They say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And we learned that that's not true, but it's still great advice. And you're reminding me that Ricardo has quite a bit of institutional knowledge about the Paramount. He mentioned a couple names in there, Ulysses and someone else who I'm forgetting now, but plenty of stories there. That's probably its own webinar, just talking about those original days of the Paramount coming up. And so I just want to share that. Ali, same question to you.
I knew I wanted to work with artists, and I wasn't sure what that looked like. It was either going to be painters and sculptors or musicians. So I went to college. I went to Columbia College in Chicago, which was a school of the arts and kind of a process of elimination. I figured out I wanted to go into booking. I kind of realized at age 18, I wasn't going to really be able to manage painters and make a living at it. And I realized that was going to be kind of a hard path. And I wasn't sure like working in a gallery or a museum was right for me. And so really it was a process of elimination. I booked a club for a little while and I loved that. And I thought, oh, I can be a promoter, until I booked a band that spit beer on me. And then I went, oh, wait, I don't like this band. I don't want to be a promoter. I'm going to have to book bands that I don't love. And so for me, it was just a natural fit to become a booking agent, because I got to work with music that I absolutely loved and believed in. And that just felt right. That felt right to me. So, I was really like a freshman in college, and I thought, I want to be a booking agent. And I just focused my whole career on that. And now I've been doing it for 25 years, and I don't know how to do anything else.
It's a good thing it worked out so well.
I know, now I'm just stuck doing this forever.
Jason, what about you?
I like you, Adam. I started off in college as a college booker, and I was very lucky that one of the first bands that I booked was this band Fish. That I joined the concert committee my very first day, a freshman year, and put a proposal together to bring them to campus. And putting that show on, required. I got a chance to be involved with every facet, from the tech end of it, and selling the tickets and doing the advertising, and working directly with the management, because it was a small band that at the time they didn't even have an agent that I was going through. I was going directly to the band, and the show was a huge success, and it sold out, and working, and I was a fan of the band, so I was working really closely with them. And at the end of the night, when I got back to my dorm, I wrote a letter to the manager that was just the most gushing, giddy, enthusiastic, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life kind of letter. And then I promptly woke up the next morning, ripped it up, never sent it. But as it turned out, I did end up working for this person, the band's manager, who became my mentor and, a very close friend. And I still work with Fish today. So I had a long path leading up to that in terms of figuring out that music was for me, but I've been fortunate to work with artists that I love throughout my career, which has been fantastic.
That's amazing. So you all work with artists, and those artists rely on you to help them earn a living and manage their careers. And over the past decade, the live touring revenue has become a huge part, if not the biggest part of most musicians' income. So how are musicians making money during this year without live shows? Ricardo, let's start with you.
Well, I work primarily with Sir Mix-a-Lot, and I'm fortunate, and he's fortunate in that Mix owns his catalog, his publishing. He owns the rights to all of his songs. Never did he give up those rights. He gets probably 80% of the income that he receives is from record royalties and publishing royalties, right? Sync licensing. He uses those songs are used in commercials, on TV shows, and so on and so forth. So the majority of his monies does not come from touring. And so he, I think, is one of those rare artists that does not rely on tour monies to survive. We've done a number of licenses during the pandemic. I think we did a deal with 7-Up. We did a deal with Pepsi. We've licensed the songs for numerous TV shows and so on and so forth. And I think, as an artist manager, the idea of owning your material, whether it's the master recording or the publishing, is really the key to the long-term, your long-term income, right? Not everyone's able to do that, but if you're able to do that, then that's what really matters. Ownership. I tell people it's like owning real estate, right? How do you get wealthy in America, right? You own something, right? And for him, he owns those songs that have been hits and that people continue to use and license. So yeah, he hasn't toured in well over a year because the market isn't there for touring, right? Yeah. But he's been fortunate in that respect.
Oh, that's brilliant. Allie, what about you?
Well, I mean, normally I book between 600 to 800 shows a year. So it was pretty drastic. However, our company did book a lot of socially distanced shows. I'd say almost more than any other agency. We probably had about 150 to 175 shows that ended up happening. They were all socially distanced shows though. Most of them outdoors, many of them in pods, roped off areas with 6 people or 6 feet in between each pod, at a lot higher ticket prices. So, the ticket prices had to be $50 to $75 a person when an artist would normally charge 20 or 25. because building a venue from scratch outdoors was very expensive. So in some ways, the bands that were able to do that did make a little bit of money. There's also been some virtual streams that some artists have played. But yeah, the income really has been down for a lot of artists, and they haven't been able to really make that up. At least in the touring side, from my end. I know that there's some things that the management side, or syncs, licensing, things like that have happened.
Yeah. So Jason, you're an artist manager. What have you been doing to create income for your artists?
Sure. I will say that, for me, the past year has probably been the busiest of my career, which has been both really challenging and also really rewarding, because I feel like it's at a really critical time when some of the artists that are in a little bit of a more vulnerable position by not touring financially, it's been really great to help keep their lights on and get their their expenses paid. To answer your question, it's been a very, very broad spectrum of activity, from artists that wanted to kind of clean out their closet, so to speak, and release B-sides, catalog lost records, live recordings. There's been a huge surge, in the past year, mostly people that may have had disposable income to spend and wanted to spend it on artists and be supportive. So merch has been off the charts, and vinyl has been at the vinyl market has been at the highest peak that it's been since 1991, which is really when CDs were also had eclipsed it. And so I must have, I don't know, 7 or 8 projects right now in production on vinyl that are, some of which are backed up for months beyond what a typical turnaround time would be. So that's been a kind of trying to keep up with demand on that front has been a major challenge. And then yes, live streams, both free and ticketed, have been a major endeavor. Some of the larger bands, that Band Fish that I had mentioned, it's done. First, they did a weekly live stream, and that moved to monthly after Labor Day, with archival concerts that they had in the can, video. Concert videos, and then others, have put together shows, ticketed live streams. There's a whole ecosystem of platforms that have popped up over the past year. A lot of them are basically selling a similar video product with just a couple different bells and whistles. But the typical format of that, as many of you have probably seen online, is a performance, whether live or recorded, often followed by a meet and greet or a kind of VIP Q&A. I've found that the key to that, for those to work, because they've been very successful, is by being I should say, driven by scarcity. The more you are not out there in the world as an artist, when you're ready to do something like that, your fans are really excited to respond. And while you think there's a fall off happening with pandemic, stream fatigue, I've been doing a lot over the past month, and it's been as successful as anything that's happened all year round. I think people are still really hungry for entertainment and really want to connect with their artists. So that's been a totally different muscle to work. Managers have been, become
a lot of work.
Yeah,
for
we've
one
become
show.
Television producers. But I will say this may be a astounding fact or result, which is just that some of the income that's made on that front has been bigger than what it would be if the bands went out and toured. Which is kind of nothing, way more than I would expect. Finally, as Ali mentioned, several of the artists that I work with have been doing real shows. They've just been socially distanced. They've been stripped down. They've been, outdoor shows, drive-ins, pods. Even when some venues have opened up and done small distance shows inside too, they've been doing those. The artists that I work with that really want to do those have found the circuit, and we don't see very much of it in the Northwest. I think most of it is more in the Northeast, Midwest, and Southeast, but really it's more East Coast driven. But there's an entire circuit of if you want to go out and tour and you're based on the East Coast, it has been, and you with the right kind of audience, I think it's been really successful for certain artists.
Amazing. I'm going to go off the plan here a little bit because you're talking about streaming. Maybe want to delve into that a little bit more. And Jason, if you don't mind talking a little more, I'll start with you. What do you think the future of streaming is once live shows and tours resume?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting question that I'm asking more than being able to answer, because I'm curious what all these streaming platforms that are investing in personnel and marketing and how they see the future, if they want their platforms to kind of stay out there. I do think there's always been an opportunity. I think people are now more used to maybe even paying for events, streaming events that they haven't been in the past. And I think there will be some things that may not be something that can go on tour that people will pay for more for an online experience than they have. I think the virtual meet and greet, I think there's some opportunities there, probably more with, I don't know, more contemporary artists or pop artists, or career artists that have a very strong relationship with their fan base. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're also going to see tours and shows where adding, a level of production. This is something we've seen over the years. We've seen House of Blues is outfitting all of their clubs with cameras, and you can watch webcam. We've seen that every couple of years, but I feel like this time it might stick. And just recently, one of the major promoters announced that they're putting cameras in 60 clubs. So I think there may be an attempt to monetize, if you want to stay home or if you want to see a show in another city, but whether any of that sticks is really, really hard to say. I think people crave the live experience. And I think there's going to be a huge demand for that, but I also think there will be some level of streaming that continues into the future. And I think, as always, it's about quality and pricing and scarcity. You don't want to be everywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Ali and Ricardo, care to make any predictions about what becomes of streaming?
Yeah, I think the issue that I'm having is that I have a lot of artists, and the bigger the artist too, that they have a set that they do every night, and they practice that set for 3 weeks or a month before they go on the road. So they don't want to be streamed every night because it's the exact same song order. And sometimes also some artists tell similar stories each night. They have a really great story about a song they wrote about their girlfriend or their significant other. So that also gets a little bit tricky. A few of the deals that I've seen in the smaller clubs too have still kind of been the same old, like, it's going to cost us $500 or $600 to make this stream happen. So basically we're going to want the artist to pay for that up front. And then we're going to give you, 80% or give you a percentage of the money after we get these costs recouped. Well, artists don't really like that scenario. So they want to have it be risk-free for them to do it. So I think it's going to take a few of these, for on the concert side, I think it's going to take some of the venues to just perfect it and do it and become a popular known thing where they can say, look, this is how many streams we've had for this artist, and this artist, for it really to grow to a bigger level. I do think we're going to see it a lot more, especially with what Jason just said about making more, doing some of these streams than an entire tour. I mean, that's massive. But, all the same kind of things Jason was saying about it being successful. There's a lot to it. And there's also a ton of different streaming options. I mean, I've had presentations, probably about 12 different companies. So there's, and that's not even including like the in-house at certain venues. Right. So
just to qualify that one note about, I do think that the high grossing streams is an anomaly. I think most artists aren't seeing that. Just happened to be a couple artists that had, a major anniversary or had been out of the public eye for a long time that decided to dip their toe into the streaming water. And so, certainly I think some artists have done well, but also there's a whole level of artists that probably had 50 people show up, that we're expecting more too,
Yeah.
I can see artists putting out albums and then doing a meet and greet and some type of streaming thing where maybe they're not even playing music, that they're connecting with fans and they're talking and they're, I could definitely see a lot more of that going on too. I think it's smart.
Ricardo, you own a creative agency that does a lot of video production. Have you delved into streaming and thought about the future of it much?
Adam.
I know the answer.
Right? So, I've been a big proponent of streaming way before COVID. I think in 2016, we did a demo at the Neptune to see how, if there was latency and what it might look like, right? For me, it's a matter of how do you grow your audience, right? I always say that in the theater business, in the concert business, we're limited by the physical space that we occupy, right? And for me, streaming allows us to get beyond the 3,000 seats, get beyond the 900 seats, right? And so for me, if a concert is sold out, the next logical step would be to stream it, to offer it to people who are unable to have that live experience, right? So I think COVID has just hastened the streaming acceptability. I think it's here to stay. I believe that, again, you grow your audience in that way. If Dylan's at the Paramount and 3,000 seats are sold out, and I have a chance to look in on that show through a stream, by all means, I'll pay to see that. I'll have that experience. So again, for me, it's audience growth. It's just a natural extension of what takes place within the theater. And again, I think COVID has just hastened our acceptance of streaming, but that it's here to stay. The business aspect of things. I know when we were talking back in 2016 or so, you have to look at rights, right? Who owns the rights, right? Do you pay BMI or ASCAP? Does the theater, as Ali mentioned, take a piece, the venue take a cut, right? You have to figure out all of that business aspect of things. But, where there is the potential for revenue, we always figure it out, right? We always do. So I'm a big fan of streaming. I think it's here to stay. I think it's a big part of how an artist grows their audience and how an artist can increase their earning potential.
Yeah, and it's an accessibility issue too. Accessibility is about removing barriers, and streaming accomplishes that in a big way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so assuming touring will resume, and it will, because we all need it to, some of us more than others, me. What will touring look like post-COVID? And do you have any predictions around when things will resume at full capacity on a nationwide level? And Ali, booking agent, let's start with you.
Well, I'm really hoping by the end of August that we have some full cap shows, but I have no way of really knowing that for sure. But it does feel like, most states are going to have be at herd immunity. At least I hope so, unless the variant gets out of control. So I'm kind of hoping for, end of August, beginning of September to have some full cap shows happening.
Jason, make a prediction.
I wake up some days being like, it's happening. We're back. And then I go to sleep some days and be like, how the hell is this going to happen? Just seeing the kind of, the stop and start of some of the vaccine stuff. And you look at some of the rates in some of the states. So I think we're going to see what I've kind of thought would happen all along is we're going to see certain states do things they're going to look incredibly bullish, and they're going to do them, and they're going to be successful, and other states are going to go on a different path, which makes it really hard for those of us that route kind of artists full national tours. We're going to have to be really careful, and we're going to have to be really nimble when things if things change, I guess, along the way. All that said, the artists of mine that are touring this summer, we are expecting to tour by the end of the summer. So we're shuffling some stuff around and hoping to make it all work. But there, by Labor Day or sooner, I definitely think we will be seeing full capacity shows, and likely even in the state of Washington, I think. I'm sorry, I should say outdoors first and foremost is what I'm thinking, but I think we'll see indoor shows as well, this fall.
Cool. Ricardo, in extension to that question, what will it take for Sir Mix-a-Lot to feel comfortable touring and going into these venues? What do you need to see to make the artist comfortable?
That's a great question, man. I think Mix would have to be immunized first of all, and then I think it's just a matter of what the states are saying, right? I mean, when we closed down, we looked at what each health department at the various states were saying. Mix was out in Louisiana actually when they closed that state down, and he packed up and drove home. So, it's a tough one, man. I'm not sure. He wants to wait until there's certainty that it's okay, that the authorities are saying, look, you can gather with minimal exposure. And when that is said, I think on a national level, if we hear it from Anthony Fauci, from the CDC and folks like that, then I think he would be encouraged and would be willing to tour until it is stated, I think, at a national level. I don't see him doing California because California says it's okay, and then you skip New Mexico or Nevada, and then you go. I think he's looking for the totality, the United States saying, "Hey, we've reached herd immunity. It's safe to gather, and it's okay to tour at this point." I think that's what he'll wait for.
Yeah. Allie, are you making any requirements of venues and promoters in order to confirm your tours?
Yeah, I have a list of COVID questions that I ask for all the socially distant shows, but I've found that they're doing the same thing as well. I'll send them my list, then they'll send me back their list, and we got to compare the two for sure. So it's a bit of the Wild West out there. It's the biggest promoters aren't doing socially distant shows. So it's kind of some of the smaller promoters that maybe I haven't worked with before. So you're putting a lot of faith in people that, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm working with new people, which during this time is a little bit scary. But, people understand. I mean, I think people feel a lot safer just wearing, masks or doubling up on masks. And, the areas are always really roped off well for the patrons. And we've even had things where you order your drinks on your phone, you order your merch on your phone. You can even get in line for the bathroom on your phone at certain venues. So
you can even go to the bathroom on your phone.
You can even go to the bathroom on your phone. So there's, we're just doing the best that we can and hoping everyone follows the rules. But so far it's seemed that way.
Yeah. Jason, what do you think about two questions? Requiring your artists to be immunized in order to be allowed to play a venue. That's question one. And what do you think about requiring audiences to wear masks? This is imagining a time where we've reached herd immunity, we're at full capacity.
Well, on the first question, would artists have be vaccinated? And I think when you have bigger productions that are out there, with crew that are traveling in and tour buses, yes, I would certainly, for my artists, insist that they're vaccinated. I don't think, as Biden said, there isn't going to be a COVID passport or vaccine passport or something, along those lines. But I think as a private employer, the artist can require that of the people that they travel with. However, I think in Europe for international touring, I think we will see, some kind of COVID passport. And so you're not even going to be able to get on the plane or, or cross certain borders unless you have proof of immunization. I just spoke to an agent about that yesterday because I found out that one of, a band member of a bigger artist, has been very reluctant to get the vaccine for one reason or another. I haven't actually spoken to him. It's just been, which would be really unfortunate if he made a decision not to join the band because he didn't want to get a vaccine. But with everybody working in such close quarters, we couldn't afford the risk of somebody getting sick. As for should the audiences need to wear masks once we're at herd immunity? I can't answer that question. I would defer totally to local and national, health authorities on what's the right thing for those, and would ask our audiences if it was recommended. For sure, we would ask our audiences in the venues that we work with whether that's possible. But again, we're talking about indoor shows. I don't know if that's possible in an outdoor show or not.
Yeah. All right. There are some questions that have been submitted here, and we've got about 20 minutes left, so I'd like to start getting into those. The first one I see here, Ricardo, is for you. It says, Ricardo, streaming is a beautiful idea, especially for sold out shows, but how would they protect ownership if the public has technology to reproduce? Wouldn't this reduce the scarcity value? Good question.
So that is a great question. And honestly, I don't know how to answer that, right? That's something I'd have to think about. Yeah, I guess you could record anything, right? And you can play it back over and over. You can record a song that plays on the radio and play it back, right? So, I don't know if there's a way to protect that material, but those are the things that you would have to figure out, right? As I talk about the business aspect of things, right? Is there a way to encode that material so that it cannot be replayed? I don't know.
Put an NFT on it.
Right, I was going to say NFTs are the big thing right now, right? Maybe you do that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. It's a great question.
Jason, how do you deal with the rights issues on streaming for your artists?
So, the thing that you see most of the time is for artists with really large fan bases larger fan bases that want to record it, and then they typically want to repost it, after. When artists are doing a stream, often, unless they're putting it on YouTube, and then there's really no, it's there for everybody, but a lot of them are doing it within a very fixed window, and maybe it has a short replay window, or to observe, all the rights that are involved. For example, I won't get too into the weeds on this, but if an artist plays a cover song on a video, you can't keep that up after its initial live stream unless you license that song. So an artist therefore can't keep that up in perpetuity. Maybe there's a very short term where it's okay, but after that you really have to get permission and often pay fees for that. So artists have to take it down. To answer your question, stuff that's on YouTube as an example, or Facebook, you can, as a rights holder, there are very easy ways you can notify, you can claim an infringement that allows us to do that. However, that takes a lot of time and a lot of resources, and it can be a game of whack-a-mole. Things can just pop up all the time. However, and this maybe answers the initial question that you posed to Ricardo. Overall, if the economics of doing streaming is big enough and makes sense, for all other reasons, usually the piracy impact is small enough that it doesn't stop you from doing it in the first place.
All right. Okay, next question here is, what is the viability of requiring proof of vaccination for anyone attending shows, and what is STG's stance? It's a great question, and we're right in the middle of figuring out what's legal, frankly. And that's all unfolding for for all of us right now, sorting that out. Have any of you come across this question for future shows yet?
No.
No. Okay. I imagine that in a month or so, we might all have different answers to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Adam, but as someone affiliated with STG, it's a different perspective for the theater itself than it is for artists and managers, right? Because you assume that the theater has a certain amount of responsibility to not to the public, to protect the public once they enter the halls of the theater, right? So from a venue perspective, it's quite different, no?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that is our responsibility as a venue. And we're anticipating that some tours, maybe some Broadway shows, may require that of us. They may tell us, if you want this show at your venues, you have to require and enforce masks, have everybody show proof of vaccination, or take a quick COVID test before entering the venue. Those are all the different scenarios we're trying to anticipate and be ready for.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our next question here is, it's frustrating to see so small shows in New York, like City Winery with 100 people. Curious why not so much in Seattle? No demand at that pricing level. Good question. So why don't we see more intimate shows here like you do in some other cities like New York?
Well, I think it's, first off, it's our location and where we are, and there's not a lot of venues around us in different states doing socially distant shows. So California has very strict laws, and there has been very few socially distant shows there. In the city of San Francisco, like, I think their maximum cap is 50 people, and you have to be in a massive area. So it's kind of not tenable. And so that's kind of an issue. I mean, there's not a lot of surrounding area. So to get an artist up to Washington, it just would be too expensive. And also when you do, again, it's the ticket price. If you take normally, if you have a regular venue, it's 500 capacity, and you say it's at 50%, like, everyone loses money at that. The band doesn't make any money. The promoter doesn't make any money at 50% sold. So if you even take it down lower to, 100 people at a 500 capacity venue, you have to charge 5 times the ticket price. And so there's also not always a lot of bands that kind of fit that scenario. So there's just so many moving parts, and also, artists feeling safe, and if they're not vaccinated, they don't want to tour. There's just a lot going on. And me as a booking agent too, I have been so busy as well, just booking and rebooking. I mean, I've moved my tours 4 or 5 times, the same exact tour, just moved them down the road depending on what the manager wants to do. So booking completely new shows has been hard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to Ali's point, it's much easier to route when you're in New York City, right, than it is when you're in all the way in the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yeah.
New York surrounding you. You could go to Jersey, you could go to Philly, you could go to Boston. I mean, there's so much there that you can route and make it work economically. Whereas, to your point, Ali, coming up here, I mean, it's like a one-off.
Yeah, you can't cross the border into Canada. And another point too, all of my Canadian shows for the rest of 2021 are not happening. So I have pushed all of them into 2022 because I'm really not sure when it's going to be safe to cross the border.
Part of that question was about ticket price, and I interpreted that as, you go to New York, you see a Broadway show or almost any show, you'll see ticket prices maybe double, triple, or more than you would in Seattle. Do you think there's a market for that in Seattle? So intimate shows at a higher ticket price?
Sure, because of the scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's demand, it's just the supply and demand.
Yeah.
A lot of demand, very little supply. So people are going to be able to charge higher ticket prices.
I also feel like in Seattle, we're more compliant, right? When it comes to
We're the good guys.
we're the good guys, right? Governor Inslee says, "Hey, you're in phase two, right? At 25% capacity. We're in phase two at 25% capacity. In New York City, you say that, and it's like, who gives a damn, right? You know what I mean?" And I grew up in New York, so I know that attitude, right? So I think part of it for us is our culture. Right?
Yeah, I think that's true. All right, next question here is, how do you deal with managing artists who may require accessible accommodations to perform at venues? Is there a way to collectively push for venues to ensure accessible backstages for artists to tour? Anyone care to take that one?
Well, certainly, I have some smaller artists that only want to play ADA venues and make sure that not so much the backstages though, because they aren't needing of that themselves. But I think it's an important issue that we're all kind of slowly working towards.
Is it appropriate to make that a requirement of venues and promoters beyond what's legally required?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I think, look, there are venues that are, old buildings, with the dressing room that might be down a spiral staircase, that's like a little basement green room or something like that. There are, from an artist point of view, when you're booking the show, fortunately, as a manager or an agent, if you have an artist that has those kind of needs or needs accessibility, you're gonna choose a venue that's gonna work for them. And I've seen any number of modifications made, to make that work. It's just it's part of doing the show. You don't have to necessarily do something that requires, sometimes there's no way to do it in some very small spaces, I think, but there are fortunately plenty of other opportunities and venues in major cities.
Yeah, and there's always different backstage options too, of renting different areas for an artist to be in.
Cool. Well, it's just a good reminder, that question, that it's, up to people like us to push these issues forward and create accessibility where we're not seeing it. So it's a really good question. Okay, next one here. With a fast-growing city like Seattle, do you think losing live music venues to development and COVID restraints is just a temporary change and new ones will just pop right back up? Or is this likely a longer-term trend and we will just live in communities with less live music for a while?
I think they're going to pop back up. I think, and the problem is, and the heartbreaking thing is that the people that have lost their businesses, some of the smaller venues that have to close down, they might not be able to reopen. But I think that if there's always a need for certain size venues and cities, and there'll be someone else that opens up that venue. But they're, not just Seattle. I mean, 3 venues I booked shows in Austin, Texas closed. The Great Scott in Boston closed. The Port City Music Hall in Portland, Maine closed. So there is a lot of heartbreak out there, but I do think when there's a need and a desire that they will be reopening.
Do you think any of this is permanent as a result of Seattle's rapid growth, that it just becomes too expensive to open a small venue? Like, I'm thinking of San Francisco and some of what was lost there culturally as that city exploded.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jason? What do you think?
I mean, honestly, I am the person on this call who's only been in Seattle for a relatively short amount of time. I've only been in Seattle for 6 years, so I'm still just can't even believe the amount of cranes in the sky. It's such a eye-opening thing for me. So I really can't say. I mean, honestly, Adam, I think not to dodge the question, but I think you're probably more aware of how venues and real estate coexist, or venues react to real estate trends that are happening and where you see the opportunities there.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, I think it's clearly much more expensive to, for a scrappy entrepreneurial person to just start up a music venue in Seattle, Washington in this climate. But as far as the existing ones, I think by and large, most are going to survive in Seattle, and that's in large part thanks to government funding, both King County funding and also just local, people just donating to local artists and local venues. And then the big one is this SVOG bill that passed federally, which applications are being made now for those grants, but it was over $15 billion in funding to go to venues and performing arts centers. That is extremely meaningful, and I think it's going to make it okay for just about everyone, hopefully. All right, this next one is directed just to me. Adam, how is your booking driven by mission, and how do you merge profit opportunity with artistic diversity? Has this changed since the pandemic has forced closure and looking forward to reopening? So it's a great question because it's something we face every day. And so part of our responsibility programming these venues and keeping them alive and vibrant is volume. We want to book as many shows as we can, and the other piece of that is serving the public. The part of Seattle Theater Group's mission is being the people's theater. That's what we strive to be, and what that means is serving our entire community. And it's something we track and pay close attention to, and there's a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities for growth. And I think now more than ever in this past year, having a full year to really reflect on our mission and our values and how we want to see this new era unfold, that is just way more at the forefront. If we are missing certain communities, how do we invite them in? And some of these are not easy answers. Some of it is who you're putting on the stage, but how do you create a welcoming environment at these venues that truly everybody wants to come to? So I hope that answers the question. It's something that comes up daily these days. Next one is for Allie. Having lived through this year, are agents and the industry in general thinking about how to be more resilient if anything similar happens again? Or are there other ways you and your peers are seeing systemic shifts in your work? Good question. What if this happens again?
I think I'm out. No.
You're out.
I mean, yeah, we're definitely trying to reserve more money in the coffers, have a year's worth of operating expenses handy wherever, looking at our finances a lot more carefully, taking care of our employees too. At Arrival, the first thing when we got together, we decided to have a profit share for all of the non-agents at the company. We're giving a share of the profits to them because we wanted to make sure people are treated fairly, but and have a living wage and not have to live in an apartment with 4 other roommates, working at the company. But yeah, things are shifting, certainly. There's a little bit of a consolidation in agencies. A lot of the bigger agencies have broken up and started some smaller shops, which has been really exciting. We've also had a lot of time to evaluate our business model and bring in other services that the smaller agencies didn't always do in the past, which has been really fun. So that is one way COVID kind of has been a blessing, that we have been able to step back and get a bigger view of the company on a whole, and plan things a little bit better than we ever have before. So that's been nice. And in Zooms too, I don't know if everybody's liking the Zooms. At first I didn't like them, but now I feel so much more connected to all the people that I'm working with, because I get to see their face 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And that's been really lovely. So
It's true.
I'm not sure if I answered the question, but.
You did, and we are at 5 o'clock on the nose. So I really want to earnestly thank all of you for participating, and everyone at home, wherever you're listening. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for your support of the arts, both before COVID and during this past year, which has been so tough for artists and venues alike. To continue your support, you can buy tickets when shows return, and also donate to the arts if you're able to. We just announced a challenge match today for our annual fundraiser, Reopening Doors to the Arts. A link for that should be in the chat. Thanks everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.